Good evening, good evening, good evening. I hope everybody is having a wonderful evening. This is your late show with your host, Tone Duncan. This is the Truth Seekrz on IntellectualRadio.com. We are an iHeart station. And for those of you who have been so nice to have shows in the past, I want you to know that for today, I am here at 11 p.m. and I mean late. So thank you so very much for tuning in. Special shout out to my beautiful mother. I hope that you listened to the show last week as we celebrated eating healthy and focusing in on what exactly that means. I want to talk to you guys about some other things. You know, it's 11 o'clock, so my whole way of talking is more for the evening hour. First and foremost, don't forget, like the video on the video and share the video. That means a lot to me. It really helps for me to be able to communicate with the people you communicate with, because if we are cool, certain that the people that you know will find our conversations just as stimulating. For those of you listening to IntellectualRadio.com, thank you for an opportunity to entertain you with some thoughts. A special shout out to my beautiful wife, Shay, who has always been my core support in everything I do and gives me the greatest criticism. Doesn't like something I talk about. Special shout out to you. For those of you listening on YouTube, thank you. We got some work to do today. Today, what I want to talk about, kind of multiplicit. I had a tough week this week. I got my daughter checking me out, my beautiful daughter Lauren, checking out her father on the Truth Seekrz. All right, let me get in. I'm diving into this. Hey, everybody. Remember, like, comment, share. That's how I get this out and how we get an opportunity to talk about what it is you want to discuss. I had a tough week. We had to bury a good brother. We had to bury a good brother, and it was really hard. Monday, we laid to rest a 57-year-old man who has been a wonderful person in the community. He's a hairdresser, was a mentor to a lot of young people. He was a friend to many, and a father, a loved one, and he was shot to death. One bullet, shot, gone. And it's no new story. It's no new thing. But it happened again. And we got to see all those very sad faces, all those looks of shock. I mean, he was just here. He's gone now. And every single day we're getting this. Every single day we're dealing with this. Every single day it's somebody in your family, somebody who you knew, you just talked to. It's every single day in our community. It's at a point now where the post-traumatic stress disorder of losing family, friends, and fearing that one day it might be you is commonplace. Strange deal. That's a really strange deal. So I want to just remember that, brother, and remember those of you who have lost somebody right now. I want to remember that. Because when I, from burying that brother, I heard the worst news again. Because, we are suffering from disease. I mean, how many of us know somebody who's afflicted with a devastating disease? Well, somebody I've known my entire life, like a mine. You know how you've known somebody so long, they go from being your friend to your cousin? Well, my friend turned cousin, Miss Veronique, passed away, and it was so sad. Passed away Sunday morning, officially. Basically, the results of cancer. And though she didn't die directly from the cancer, it was the fight against cancer that ultimately took her out. And it was the one who got me on this show, coming in to be a guest of her show after doing some appearances on CNN, Fox, and some other places, NBC News and such. She saw and she said, "Hey, get on my show. I want to talk to you about what's going on. I want people to hear your perspectives." Shortly after that, I started to host my own show. And I just want to take a minute to give a special thought to Miss Nikki, who was so revered. So many people who are my Facebook friends, so many people from IntellectualRadio.com, so many hearts were touched by her fight against cancer and her desire to make sure that cancer was not going to see her as a victim. Greatest respect and honor for you and your family, for your husband, for your daughter. You lived a powerful life, and I thank you for the opportunity to know you. What I want to talk to you guys today about is about family. I want to talk to you about family. I want to talk about marriage. You know, this weekend I have the privilege of my oldest daughter married to her college sweetheart. And how amazing is it to see young people married? Shout out to Luke, Mr. Belize, and my sister from another Mr. Tassa. What's up, sweetheart? Amazing story. You know, one time I told everybody about how my brother and I were jumped by the Chicago Police Department. And, to add insult to injury, not only did they destroy my freshman year of college and completely throw off my entire life, but they had the audacity to charge me with 21 counts of aggravated battery. And I held it to my chest. I didn't tell very many people about it. I fought them. I won. We won a lawsuit against them. I didn't sue them for much because of some things I don't need to discuss right now. But then I heard about my sister Tassa. But Tassa went through an amazingly horrific story, an encounter with racist police. I mean, when I say racist police, I know that's common to say that, but these were actually racist police who had like racist websites. And what an amazing job that her defense team did to create the awareness be done so that we can stop being attacked and treated by these idiots who have the income of our tax dollars, the power of these politicians that don't care about us, and the indignation of a belief that somehow they're in the right to mistreat good black people. I hope they really pay for what they've done. Special shout out to Tammy. Thank you so much for tuning in, sister. Again, this is a late hour, so anybody who's able to check me out right now, I love you to death for it. But we're talking about black families today. About to give my daughter away in marriage, thought to myself, Jimmy, what's up, man? What's good? Thank you, brother. I know we here, man. I need you, man. Thank you. I started thinking about black families and what's going on with first off, let's clear the air on a couple things. First off, I understand that people aren't being as focused on marriage anymore. I understand that. I get it. But we as Africans in America are at the lowest for marriage. I mean, I asked so many people, I used to have a barber and beauty salon, 22 chairs, and we saw a significant amount of people. And y'all who know me, you know that I spent a lot of time polling and interviewing and questioning our men and our women. What gives? Now, me, little disclaimer. Many of you know that I've been married for a significant amount of time. I've been married for 23 years. And I'm fortunate because I tell everybody that coming from a single parent home, coming from a divorced home, you don't realize the post-traumatic stress of coming from a broken home. When there's a problem between you and your significant other and you're from a divorced home, you tell me what you think about. Because I know you think about, oh, okay, this must be it. This must be when we gonna go our separate ways. Or, oh, I've seen this before. See, we start to live in the past. Because, see, there's no therapy out here for black people because we don't associate that. Oh, you doing that white stuff. We are more traumatized than your average person. We don't know how traumatized we are. Shout out to Divinity. It's my sister who be on here, always spreading the news. Always glad to hear from you. Yes, most of this is transferred generational. All the dysfunction that's going on in our relationships, it's passed down, it's passed down, it's passed down. The thing that a lot of people understand is there's a correlation between marriage as an institution and our faith in the possibility of prosperity in America. We are truly, as a people, mentally, we have a real crisis. Okay. In 1960, okay, I want you to understand this. In 1960, now this is after slavery. This is after the black codes that incarcerated any black who did not have a job working for a respectable white company. After the lynching, this is after it was virtually impossible to consider white businesses as a realistic option for employment, for career wages. In 1960, can you believe that there was only 4%, 24%, less than 1 out of 4 children had a single parent home? I'm going to say this again. Less than 25% of all black children grew up in a single parent home where the mother and father weren't married. 76% of all families were married and intact in 1960. Do you realize that today that number has tripled to now it's over 75% of our children, of our black homes that don't have a husband and wife as a mother and father. Now, for some of you guys, that's so played out. And I get that. I get that for a lot of people, marriage doesn't have the same value it used to. Understand? I get it. Because some people they equate marriage to religion. And a lot of people have lost their religion. And now they're more faith-based. And some of us, we don't even have any faith. You know, that number's tripled since 1960. And do you understand that in that same amount of time, there's been over 19 million abortions? And when I talk about abortions, I'm not talking about black women. When I talk about that there's more abortions in the larger cities of African American children than there are live births, you understand that's not an attack on our sisters, because I can't think of one that can impregnate themselves. One that can impregnate themselves. But it's disgustingly bad. 19 million. See, the reality is that 4 times as many black children are aborted than white children. And we're only 13% of the population. I'm going to say it to you differently. Over 35% of all abortions are of black children, and we're not even half that percent of the population. That's not because women are crazy and have lost their mind. And no, it's because there's such depravity in the love and desire for companionship amongst our black women and black men. You know, only 1 out of 4 black women get married now. How many of you guys understand what I'm saying? 1 out of every 4 black women get married now. I'll say it to you differently. Black women are twice as likely be divorced as their white counterparts, yet they are twice as likely unmarried. My brother Gary Render, this has been a brother of mine for a long time, he said, but what's the good news, Tone? The good news is we got brothers and sisters like us that are willing to discuss this thing so we can get past the problem and closer to the solution. And the solution is understanding the problem so you can get past it. So many times we're so sick of having problems. Let me say it to you differently. All we know we have is problems. We may not have money. We may not have favor with the police. We may not have good political representation, property, but we got problems. And we get tired of problems. But you don't get past it until you go through it and get to it. Get deep into these problems. Analyze them. Be willing to discuss the problems. You can understand where we're going wrong. Do you know that black men are getting married, but only 30% are married right now? And the sad part is that 25% of the marriages last year by black men were not to black women. And that's not, let me make sure you understand this. That's sad because of the conversation that's associated with it. I want you to understand what I'm saying here. 25% of the marriages last year of black men were to women who were not black. Do I even want to talk about that? Dr. Umar got blasted on News One by Roland because he said that he had no respect for a black man that married another race because that's the abandonment of black women. And I understood what he was saying. Now, I want you to understand why I didn't get married to a non-black woman. See, the reason why I didn't get married to a non-black woman is because when you marry, you don't marry a person, you marry a family. Know that there may be a loving, caring, non-racist white person, but that doesn't in any ways imply that she has a loving, caring, non-racist white family. And that's what you deal with. And so I said, I'm not going to play that game. I'm not going to jump into that bag. And so it was never a consideration for me because of the problems I watched my father deal with. You know, my father was constantly seen as whatever for a black man. Oh, he's so handsome for a black man. He's so well spoken for a black man. And oh, he could have done that because he's a black man. I don't want you to understand that these are the issues that we're going through as a black family. See, what we have to understand is that women, they don't marry outside of their race even half as much as black men do. I don't know why, but it's the way it is. It is the way it is. Do you realize that primary reasons why marriage in the black community is so thwarted is because we have over 800,000 people in the penitentiary. 800,000. Do you get me on that? I mean, I don't know if you can imagine 800,000. This is what I did. I showed Michigan University's football field, and their stadium's called the Big House. And I showed that if you had 10 of them, well, the amassment of incarcerated blacks in America. You know, 1 out of 4 black men will go to jail. Life. Which is about 6 times higher than whites. And let's not ever kid ourselves on whether or not blacks and whites have any significant difference in the rate of crime they commit. Please, let's not kid ourselves. What I want you to understand is that there's been some research actually went out and researched what's going on in the black community. You know, one of the primary issues that I think we have to take into consideration is we are sending our women out with no experience of a 2-parent home, don't get the opportunities to see cohabitation between 2 very confident, empowered black adults, and our black males aren't seeing a black father household. Now, special shout out to the men who have fathered another man's child to the best of their ability. Back in love for what you do, your sacrifice. Special shout out to my man Tracy. What's good, family? Much love to my old school. Listen, you guys, I appreciate deeply that you're tuning in. I'm checking out all of your comments. I'm trying to incorporate them the best I can. Remember this: like, comment, share. Let's get this thing going. Let's get this conversation moving. You know, Tracy points out the correlation between the family and the community. Divinity points out that it's deeper than that. It goes from the water to the nutrition, food consumption, contamination, systemic classism. It's all these things that create this feeling of being disenfranchised. But I want to talk therapy with y'all for a second, because we sometimes halfway know what we're talking about, but then we lead a conversation when the hard conversation starts. Triletta, what's up, sweetie? Much love. When you understand what's going on with us, the amount of trauma that we face, why do we think we just supposed to get over it? You know, if you, okay, just give me this for a second. You got a white family living in the suburbs and was walking down the street and she heard gunshots. So she runs into the school, tells the teacher tells the counselor tells the psychologist at the school. They have an all-school seminar where they discuss with all kind of resources what the traumatic effects were for this child. They get the whole community in and they make it a big deal. But when one of our children come in to school and they just watch somebody get shot or they just heard gunshots, it's like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Bobby, but I need you to pull out your homework. Class is starting. Because we're so used to being in pain, confused, scared, and stressed that we don't even qualify that as being something important. But we've got to get comfortable with, as my man Dracy's saying, the uncomfortable conversations. We have to understand there is therapy in need, and we have to be our own therapist now. Not to just heal yourself, but in dealing with your opposite gender. See, because one of the primary issues that I see is that you can't come up with a song on TV. When's the last time you guys could name 3 top 10 songs that did not degrade women or did not have women degrading themselves or degrading men? When's the last time you had 3 top 10 songs that talked about the edification of the black family, about the beauty of a woman, talked about the beauty of a man, not about the lust of a woman, not about the lust of a man, and most certainly not about the sexual availability that this person may have at any given time? Black women have been the buffet of lust in America since they got here, and black men are not far behind. See, because if a black man's not screwing, he on his way to jail. See, the only 2 things that black men are supposed to be able to do well is screw up. That's all we're known for. And you guys know this game that's going on where a lot of us realize that if a black man holds the culture of being black and has a certain pride about his heritage and his culture. Now, when I say culture, I'm not talking saggy jeans, because in my opinion, that's not culture. That's a lack of culture that has now become culture. But when a black man feels comfortable talking with his own accent, even if he is saying grammatically the correct words, he's disenfranchised. See, there's an attack on being black, and that is one of the reasons why there's such a hard acceptance of real black love, because it's not celebrated in this country. Black on black love is not celebrated. You know, I've been doing some studying, so I don't know if you guys heard about this book, but there's a book that was written by Nika Beeman, and that book was I Didn't Work This Hard Just to Get Married. And what's wild is Nika, she basically did a definitive study on marriage with women. So this is specifically about Black women and marriage. You know, the things that stood out was that marriage to a college graduate Black woman isn't as imperative to be. They're just not as focused on it. Now, she gave some good reasons. She said because typically you don't see as many Black men in college environments as you do Black women. And since I've already pointed out that Black women are not as likely to marry outside of the race, they typically just stay single, which is the reason why 75% of Black women in the married and childbearing ages are single. Now, she goes on to say that it's really about the economic part. You know, she goes on to say that economic stability that one has as a Black woman who's a college graduate and has ascended to a position of stability at the workplace, she doesn't have the same economic requirements for marriage. So there's not a need for marriage, there's a need for companionship. More and more companionship. You know, with culture, we have to accept the good and the bad. We have to accept these things because in order for you to discuss it, you have to be able to at least admit it's there. There are some cultural nuances that are unique to Blacks, but there's neither positive or negative. It just is what it is. You know, like one of the things that I point out all the time is our desire to make our hair look more and more European as women. You know, that's neither negative or positive. It's a choice. It's just kind of one of those nuances. Yeah, I see women who have always loved, I mean, I study African history. Women of African persuasion have always done things to decorate and really adorn their hair. You know, and just because the majority of it is now seemingly what it is, European, it doesn't matter. They're just making their hair look beautiful to themselves. So it's neither negative or positive. It depends on why you're doing it. But these are the cultural differences, you know, but when you see Blacks doing stuff that's just flat out ignorant, like wearing their pants down to the middle of the hamstring, you have to ask yourself, where are the parents in this situation? Tell me that 90% of inner city Black children are wearing their pants down to their hamstrings. And that means mid-thigh. See some mothers out there and some fathers out there who can say, what the heck is you doing? You guys, we have to understand that relationships and they end with who you are as a person on the inside. I've seen some strange things in relationships. I've seen people who couldn't stand dealing with themselves, so they had to hurry up and be with somebody else. You know why? Because now I can think about them. I don't have to worry about thinking about me. Because so many of us are so hurt that we try to be with somebody else so that we don't feel as devalued, as worthless. But then we bring this worthlessness into a relationship. See, I don't believe everybody should be together until we've worked on ourselves. And that's the reason why I am so animate about working on ourselves so that we can be better relationship partners. I hope you guys understand that the most important aspect that's going on right now is a societal, systemic push to remove the need of a husband and wife in a black family. I know people who realize that if you ever get poor, the amount of things you can get as a single black woman with children can equal what a man would have to make in income of upwards of $40,000 a year. The black man has no place. You either are a breadwinner or you just spending the night. Do you know, I got stats for you. Here's a stat for you. Do you know that 65% of the black women who were polled by this Pew Research study that having a good financial provider was extremely important in deciding whether or not you were going to have a relationship? Do you know that amongst white women, it was only 32%? Twice the amount of black women say having a financially capable man is a prerequisite to considering whether this was marriage material. But I just told you there's an epidemic happening to the black man because he's been phased out. No, he still has the opportunity to go to school. He still has the opportunity to get a job. He still has all these opportunities, but he has to abandon his identity to do it. He has to make it past probability 1 in 4 of being incarcerated. He has to make it past a probability of being killed. He has to make it past a probability of such a stress disorder that he disengages completely. And then out of that group, you have a possibility of somebody having upward mobility. Okay, 55%. They don't even want to have a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship with a man that doesn't have income. Do you realize that only 28% of white women said that? And it's not because black women have a problem with black men. It's that there's such a disproportionate ability for black women to stratospherically climb than it is for black men. You got to know this. You got to understand that it's not like black men are stupid. It's that the game is set up for the ascension of the black woman. Not easily, not without extreme work, but the slope is a lot smoother for the sister than it is the brother. And we both know that the sister got it hard. So we don't have to wonder what the brother got. I'm bringing this to you guys today because I want you to talk to me. Tell me how you think can get better. Do you know there's a solid belief that there's a lot of intimidation in black men because the women are typically in a better financial situation. But do you really think it's because the woman makes the black man intimidated? Or do you think that the black man has been so just unequally treated that every situation he walks into, it's unequal? So it's no different now in this relationship that of course you got the money, because when you was in school, I was fighting cases. When you was in school, had I went to school like you did, I'd have got shot because they were shooting at me. Or I was so determined to make money because my mother never had a man in the house who didn't beat her, that all I ever wanted to do was be the provider my mother never had. So he goes straight to work. I want to explain this to you because I know a lot of people outside of the black race. Do you know what happens to white men that are stressed out? They go lay on their couch. They don't go to work. They don't become productive people in their household. No, they quit. They get overloaded and they shut down. Because stress does that to you. You have to understand there's a hormone in your brain that shuts you down when you've been through too much. And post-traumatic stress disorder has came in and devastated the black family. That all these other issues are coming about. And sisters, I want to make sure you understand that I'm not trivializing the steep mountain you have to climb to make it in this country. But I want you to remember that it's not the same as it is for the black man. You know, one time I was talking to a brother, he was much darker complected than I am. And it was during the inauguration of number 44, Barack Obama. And, you know, the brother said to me, and he was a very, very eloquent, very intelligent, very just well-spoken brother. You know, he said to me, he said, yeah, America might be ready for a president that looks like you, Tone, but they're not ready for a president that looks like me. See, there's still a stigma over well-melanined people in America. There's still this second guessing for whatever reason. But the worst part is it's not on the outside exclusively. It's on the inside. Still feel uncomfortable with our own people. Oh, I can be around a woman, but she got to be ready to have sex. She got to be, you know, respecting me as the man. I can't see who she is underneath her endowments, because no, that's not what I'm supposed to do. See, I can't see the brother deeper than his financial situation, because that's not what I'm supposed to do. Ask yourself, why is this every single thing we listen to on the radios, see on the TV, specifically as it deals with our people? When's the last time you listened to the radio? And don't just listen to the terrible lyrics in the songs. Listen to the conversations going on with the DJs and the questions that come up for the Black engagement segment. I mean, it's sick. It's a joke. First, it's at the third grade level. Then it's drama filled. And it's always talking about what you don't like about somebody else. instead of what you love. What makes this person beautiful? No, because that doesn't sell. We've been oriented now to be drama focused, prevention discouraged. We don't want to know the truth. You guys, I don't know what happened to my hour. I had so much more to talk about. But I want to thank you deeply for hanging out with me at midnight almost as we talk about some real things in our community. Black people have to learn to love each other, not lust each other, not look at what somebody can give you, but what can you give the spirit, the soul, the true person on the other side. How could you love when loving you is such a hard thing to do? Big Mike, what's up, baby? How can you love who don't really even like yourself? Oh, I talked to a brother, he loved himself. Why you love yourself, brother? Because I'm sitting up here with Gucci. I got a nice ride. I got a nice car. You don't love you, family. You don't love you, family. You love what you have accumulated around you to make you look lovable. I want you to answer this. Give it to me, though. Why is it that a woman is only worth something if she's given something? Because we have been so exploited. We only know the relationship of exploitation. We have to stop exploiting ourselves, because when you, the resources of Black love wasted, you're hurting yourself. In yourself. You know something that blew my mind? I said to myself, I said, man, you know how many Black men are dead, killed by a person who didn't even hate them? Then I said to myself, do you know how many young children there are who were fathered by a man who didn't ever love that woman? He never loved her, but you had a child. You never hated him, but you took a child. We distorted with this thing. We have to understand how sick we are to get better. I'm going to leave this with you because I got to go. It's time to go to sleep. Somebody got work in the morning. Can't just be me. We have to learn to love ourselves. We have to learn to heal ourselves. We have to learn to look at other people as being somewhere in the healing process, because if I'm sick, I know you're sick. If I've been through hell, I know where you at. If I'm crying out to God every day, I know you crying. But you have to look past the facade and see the spirit. You have to dig deeper than the breast, the wallet, and the Versace glasses. But that involves the spirit. When they say deep, talks to deep. We need to get deeper. Hey, Love y'all to death. You've been listening to Tone Duncan. This is the Truth Seekrz on IntellectualRadio.com. Special shout out to my sister in heaven, Miss Veronique, Nikki. Love you to death. Thank you guys. Remember, like, comment, share. Until next Tuesday at 7. Peace.